Hey, what's up? In this video, I'll go over how to master 8-figure copywriting for e-commerce and email marketing. It's gonna be a full breakdown on the main mistakes email copywriters still make, the difference between bad and good email copywriting, how to do quick and effective research, and how to actually write good emails. So let's get started. So to start it out, let's talk about the importance of email copywriting. So the words in your e-commerce emails may have way more impact than you might initially think. That's why copywriting isn't just something you want to leave to chance or to a quick ChatGPT draft slapped together by some virtual assistant you've hired for like $2 an hour, right? Because not only does great copywriting help you sell more products right away, obviously, it also makes your brand stand out from competitors who send emails that are like bland, forgettable, and just boring and plain ineffective. And over time, that stand out from the crowd effect kind of creates a moat around your brand by building that unique brand personality and brand perception that customers actually feel connected to in some way. Why most e-commerce email copywriters fail in 2025? Grabbing attention is way harder than it's ever been. We probably all know this. People don't actually want to stop up and read anymore like they did in the past. They've been trained by obviously TikTok, Instagram Reels, all of that stuff to move fast and onto the next thing before their brain even kind of realizes it, right? So as you can see on this kind of study that's been done on today's attention span, kind of the average attention span, looking at certain different brands, 89% of people won't even stay for 10 seconds on just one piece of content. That's kind of crazy in itself. 80% are gone before 20 seconds, and only 9% stick around for more than 5 minutes on a longer piece of content. So you can see like most email copywriters still write like it's 2015, where customers sit down with like a cup of coffee. They're ready to soak in every word like it's the morning newspaper. So they pack their emails with like long headlines, text heavy layouts, and no breaking in between the lines. But that's just not how people consume content anymore. So you need to adapt to how people consume content now. So if we look at an example here of a pretty boring email, if I had to say so myself, obviously design also comes into play here. It just looks bad and could easily be designed way nicer, but that's not what we're talking about in this video. So just looking at the copywriting here, you can see the headline on the top of the email. That's just a lot of text for that to be an effective headline. Like you'll have to consciously think that you need to sit down and actually read what this headline says before you can even kind of grasp what it's about. So it's way too long. The thing in the middle here, the Springbox 2025, that's obviously fine. That's, you can also kind of call that a headline, but obviously the initial part at the top right there probably is the headline. And then there's a huge block of text right here in the middle. Nobody's going to read that, to be completely honest. And that's how you have to think as well as an e-commerce brand owner or manager or whatever you are. People are not going to sit down and read long, huge blocks of text. That's just not the reality anymore. So you want to, again, adapt to how people consume content now, which I'm going to cover in this video. So if I keep scrolling here, we have the rest of the email. And obviously, it's just a very ugly email, to be quite honest with you. But there's also a ton of copy, which is one of the things that you don't want to do. So I'll cover that as well to teach you how exactly to write a good email. But yeah, you can see there's a lot of different copy here talking about a lot of different things. And it's just way too many blocks of text that, if you're lucky, maybe 1% of people will read. All right, so the 5 key principles to master an e-commerce email copy, let's go through them here. So first, be relatable and engaging. Your email should sound like they're coming from an actual person. You don't want them to sound like a legal document or a basic customer service chatbot. We all hate those, and your customers do as well. So listen up here. Use words your audience actually uses. So you want to speak their language. It can be as simple as saying tea instead of t-shirt if you're a t-shirt or fashion brand. You want to keep it conversational. So you've probably heard this before if you read about copywriting in any sort of way. Write the way that you talk to a friend as well. So you want to use everyday language and obviously avoid sounding like a stiff robot, right? So use contractions as well. Use like your instead of you are, and it's instead of it is, because obviously this makes your writing seem a lot more natural instead of forced. Again, kind of keeping that conversational tone. You wouldn't say it is when you're just talking directly to a normal friend. Skip the fancy words as well. You don't impress your customers by using fancy words. You're just confusing them. You're pushing potential customers away. Your customers aren't your science teacher, right? You're not getting an A+ grade from them just because of your big vocabulary. So just keep it simple and relatable, because that way customers will have a much easier chance of understanding what you're actually trying to say to them or market to them, right? So write like you're talking to one person as well. Use the word you a lot in your emails. That's what I mean by that. It makes your email kind of feel more like a one-to-one conversation instead of a company announcement. So instead of saying like, hey everyone, just say, like, just address them by first name, or don't even address them at all if you don't collect first names as well. So if we look at some bad versus good, like just a bad versus good example here, we have boring copy on the left. You can see right here, this email in the body copy says, "We are thrilled to announce an exclusive opportunity." Who even says that? Obviously, unless you're some boring old company that's been around for like 70 years. Whereas if you look at the one on the right, it's a lot more engaging copy, feels super authentic and relatable because it's written using the exact words that the customer avatar uses on the daily. So obviously you want to make sure that you kind of study exactly what words those are so you can write effective emails, which I'll get into in a second as well. So yeah, Bloom on the right here, say goodbye to acne in 3 steps. Great headline. It's very, very benefit driven, obviously. And as you can see, it's very short sentences and it's just very benefit driven and super, super clear. Number 2, you want to keep it short and sweet. So people don't read long blocks of text. They just skim for like a few seconds and then they move on to the next thing, just like they do on TikTok or Instagram as well. So if your emails look like a giant wall of words, like chances are most of that will not get read at all. So you want to avoid big blocks of text and instead break things up into shorter pieces of text. And even better, you can use like bullet points or sections to make it visually better. You don't want to drag a sentence because long sentences just will lose the reader's attention fast. So you want to keep your copywriting clear, concise, and to the point for it to make sense and to get the point across. And you want to make it flow naturally. So a simple trick, just read your email out loud for yourself. Very simple. And if anything sounds like weird or clunky, just reword that until it flows smoothly, because otherwise it will also sound kind of awkward for your readers. So let's look at some bad versus good examples right here. So on the left, you can see that's just a lot of text. Again, ugly email that also has to do with design, but you can see on the copywriting, it's just structured super, super poorly. And this could be done way, way better. I bet you that this email probably did like at most 50% of its actual performance or potential. So if we look at a good email here on the right, short and sweet, it's from a brand called Tula. You can see it's very small pieces of copy in different places, and it's just very easy to see exactly what the email is about. And you don't even have to sit down and consciously read what each piece of text says. It's kind of like you just glance your eyes over the email and you kind of get what the entire email is about, right? So that is what a good email is. Here's another one, or another 2 examples right here. So on the left, a very bad example. There's just a lot of text. Again, sometimes it's okay to try emails like this, but you need to make sure that your audience is very engaged and actually sits down and reads this stuff, because otherwise you're way better off like sending an email like on the right, where it's just a lot of pieces of text that kind of guide you through the email very easily. So on that note, in regards to making emails easier to read and understand, you want to use infographics. So this is a key one. So attention spans are shorter than ever, and long paragraphs of text obviously are super overwhelming to read. And no one in 2025 actually wants to sit down and read a full essay in their inbox, especially not from some brand where the person knows that obviously this brand is essentially trying to sell me something, right? So infographics help break things down in a way that's super easy to absorb and often in just a blink of an eye. So like I mentioned, you're just glancing over the email, and something like an infographic makes it a lot easier to understand what the email says without having to even sit down and read it. And that's whether you're explaining like product benefits, a process, or even key features. So why do infographics work so well? Well, they grab attention instantly, they make your emails more memorable, they make complex ideas a lot easier to understand, and they highlight key points without having to rely on heavy text, just like the other bad examples like I just showed you did. So when you're creating infographics, you're probably the copywriter for your brand or another brand. It likely won't be you kind of designing the infographic unless you're a copywriter and designer and you're doing a lot of work there. But as a copywriter, you should be guiding it. So you want to write some short infographic copy and then give your designer a clear note or kind of like guideline on how the visual should or could look like. So you want to give them that kind of freedom there, if that's kind of how you work. So guilt-free taste right here, you can see on the left, guilt-free taste, 0 grams of sugar, 25 grams of protein, vegan options available. That kind of the copy that we wrote here for this specific email. Obviously, this is just a small screenshot from the actual email. Copywriting. And then on the right, we left a note for the designer saying, let's turn this into a checklist or add icons that fit each point. So again, kind of giving the designer the design freedom right there to do their thing, as long as we just give them the copy and the guidelines. And then here you can see this is for a fashion brand where we have 2 different products, where we ask, do you think we can turn this into like a feature diagram with kind of arrows pointing to each product? So that's what we did there. Super key to give your designer some guidelines. So there are obviously a lot of different types of infographics. There are probably more than this, but these are the main ones that we use at my agency. So icon bullet points, numbered lists, checklists, tables, timelines, comparison charts, flow charts, benefit/feature diagrams, and then graphs as well. So if we look at some infographic examples right here, you can see the first one we got is a timeline. Second one is a flow chart plus a checklist. You can obviously combine them and kind of mix and match to make the email even more nice if you think that makes sense. And then a checklist on the right as well. So there are obviously a ton of different ways you can actually do this. And obviously you can pause this if you want to look a bit closer at these examples. A table here on the right one with, multiple tables for different products. And then we've got some more down here and some more at the end right here. Some very good examples. All right, so one email, one focus. So emails that stick to a single topic typically performs way better than those that try to cover too much in just one email. So here are some examples. If you're a clothing brand, as an example, you can send out a good email saying the perfect hoodie for chilly days, because it talks about only the hoodie and why it's a must-have. Whereas a confusing email would be like, our best hoodies plus new summer shorts just arrived. Like, you're trying to kind of like cram two different topics into one email. For a pet food brand, an example here would be like, why your dog will love our new grain-free treats. Focuses on a single product and its benefits, instead of a confusing email where you're saying like, new dog treats plus our cat food sale ends soon. It's two completely conflicting messages. Coffee brand example, the boldest espresso for a stronger morning, whereas a confusing email could say stronger mornings plus a relaxing decaf for evening. So obviously some of these emails could make sense, but you see how it's just way stronger. Like, you have a way better chance of getting the point across when you just keep one focus, kind of like one topic in one email. Key principle number 5, you want to stay on brand. So every email you send should feel like it's coming from your brand, not just another generic marketing message that could come from any brand, or just be copy pasted to basically any brand and look the same. So you want to match your brand's personality. Is your brand friendly and conversational, cool and punchy, playful and humorous? You want to make sure the tone in the copywriting actually reflects that. You also want to reinforce your brand's core values. So make sure you have some sort of brand guidelines that you can follow or a copywriter can follow, because you want to make sure every email aligns with what your brand stands for and the message that you want to communicate, right? And then you want to avoid any off-brand language. Of course, it's just a key one. So you want to skip any type of like slang or exaggerated claims that don't really resonate with your audience. Subject lines and preview text mastery. So obviously this is a big one when it comes to email copywriting. So mastering subject lines and preview text. Your subject line and preview text are the first thing that recipients see before deciding whether to open your email or not. You need to hook them in fast. However, a common misconception here is that the only job for your subject lines and preview text is to get someone to click, and that could not be more wrong. Your subject lines and preview text frame the entire email and shapes the reader's mindset before they actually start reading what's inside your email, so the actual email content, right? That's why you cannot just use clickbait like a lot of people think. Because if your email subject line says something like the world is ending today, and the email is just about like a new skincare product, then you've completely misaligned the frame there, and it's just completely off tone. So all in all, the subject line and preview text need to hook the reader in, but the email content inside also needs to deliver on that hook or that promise that your subject line and preview text gave. So otherwise you would just be training your subscribers to never trust your emails again. So some key rules to follow for subject lines and preview text right here. You want to keep them short. Aim for like no more than 50 characters or 7 words total to avoid getting cut off in the inbox. Like, in Gmail, there's obviously so many words that it can show at once before it actually cuts off the sentence. So that's that. No more than 50 characters or 7 words. That's a good rule of thumb. Then you want to make them work together, your subject line and preview text, because your preview text should complement the subject line and not just repeat it or work as another subject line. Then you also want it to match the email's content, just like I mentioned before. You want to frame the message in a way that makes the transition from the subject line to the actual email content feel natural. And you want to use emojis, but you can use them, you should probably use them sparingly, unless they're a big part of like your brand identity, of course, because obviously they can help draw attention, but you don't want to overdo it. And when it comes to capitalization formats, you can do different things here. So we've seen that a capitalized format typically performs better for older audiences, like taking every first letter in every word and capitalizing that, compared to a regular format, just like when you're writing to a friend on iMessage or whatever. That typically performs better for younger audiences. All right, so you can obviously write thousands of different subject lines, but let's look at the types of subject lines with examples as well. So you've got curiosity-driven subject lines. This could be something like, this feels illegal, but it's not. You'll never guess what we restocked, or the secret's out. Eyes emoji. You've also got benefit-driven. So something like, boost your energy in 5 minutes, how to make your sneakers last longer, or the fastest way to recover sore muscles. Scarcity-driven. So your discount expires in 3 hours. Final call, your card is about to expire, or only 12 left. Grab yours now. You've also got some more personal ones. So like, quick question for you. This made me think of you. You're still thinking about this? that also could kind of be like curiosity driven, but more so like conversational as well. You've also got number/list based subject lines. So something like 3 reasons to switch to this ASAP, 5 quick ways to improve your skin, or 10,000 happy customers can't be wrong. You've also got some story driven ones, or kind of like result driven ones. So how I went from broke to thriving in 6 months, or the supplement that changed everything for us, or she almost gave up until this happened. So a lot of different good kind of themes here to use for your subject lines. Now let's look at how to do quick and effective market research for e-commerce email copywriting specifically. So the quick and effective research method behind great e-commerce email copywriting: you don't need to spend hours upon hours of research to actually write amazing copywriting for emails, but you do need a solid research process so you can quickly gather the info that you need and the right insights that you need to actually write some high converting email copy. Even if you're the founder of the brand, yes, and you know everything about the brand, well, it will still help massively to go through the quick research process that I'll be sharing with you now. So before writing, you want to focus your research on these specific 4 key areas. So you've got brand, product, customer, and competitor. If we look at brand, you want to find out what's the mission, what are the values, tone of voice, common slogans, and what's the story. When you're looking at the product, you want to find out what are the main benefits, the features, how does the product work, and what is the main reason people actually buy it. This could be different from what you think the main benefits are, by the way. Customer, you want to look at what pain points do they have, how do they usually speak, and how do they like being spoken to as well. Very key to understand for your e-commerce email copywriting. And competitors, you want to find out what do they do differently from you, like, because this could give you an edge in your copywriting, and anything you should kind of emulate from competitors, and how are we better as a brand. So I want to give you a quick framework for actually doing the research. This is what we do at my company. And yes, this is even if you're the founder yourself, you're the one that created this brand from scratch, this is still super key to do and understand. So you want to read the brand's homepage to kind of get a feel for the positioning, mission, and personality. Again, this is good to remind yourself of, because that's very easy to forget even if you start a brand from scratch. You want to study the product pages, especially the bestsellers, or like, yeah, obviously flagship products. So to kind of understand the key selling points and benefits there, and then understand the brand USPs. So what makes you different from competitors. Read the About Us page as well, kind of get familiar with the backstory and the brand value specifically. And then you also want to study the customer reviews, specifically the 5-star ones, and also the ones with 1 star only, to kind of see exactly what people love about the product and what people hate about the product or the brand itself. And then you also want to check out the active ads on Meta Ads library. Kind of what angles and messaging is the brand currently using in their ads that specifically works well, because obviously it's a running ad, so hopefully it actually works. Otherwise, go in and turn that off if it's been running for long. But yeah, key thing to actually look at. Quick bonus tip: you want to Google this. So this is something I learned somewhere else. You want to Google exactly product changed my life Reddit. So this is the exact thing you want to add into Google right here. So this could be something like blue light glasses changed my life Reddit, because this can sometimes reveal like a complete gold mine of conversations and real stories from real people with some sort of relation to what you're selling, and that can easily inspire your copywriting ideas. So right here is an example from blue light glasses changed my life Reddit, and here you can see these kind of searches that come up, and protein as well. If you sell some kind of protein supplement, or food with protein in, and that's one of your angles, then yeah, you can use this search and come and kind of go into this Reddit thread right here and see a ton of good inspiration for what you could talk about or use as angles in your e-commerce emails. All right, so how do you actually structure your email copy for maximum conversions? Let's talk about that. So most e-commerce emails will follow a similar structure because it's proven to work. Plus, it makes things a lot easier when you just need to fill out the fields instead of staring at like a blank document from scratch and figuring out what goes where. So while this structure works as a great starting point, just remember it's not set in stone. It's just kind of a starting point, like I mentioned. Some email concepts may require a completely different layout, of course. And as a creative copywriter, obviously that is your job to figure out what the email should look like from a copywriting point of view. And you might have ideas that don't fit the usual format, and that's completely fine. The key is to make sure that the email remains clear and engaging and easy to skim, like we covered before, no matter how it's structured. So here's the exact kind of initial starting point or copywriting template that we use at my email marketing agency. So you can see here subject line preview text, and then we've got the stuff that actually goes into design. So the header, subheader, CTA, subheader, body, CTA. And again, all of those can be moved around. and you can add more or subtract things. So it's not set in stone. You don't want to make things cookie cutter. So yeah, that's what you can do right there. And you've got the copy fields right here, as you see on the screenshot as well, the copy fields and the notes fields. So in the copy fields, that's obviously where, as the copywriter, you would be writing the actual copy that the designer then takes into design. And then in the notes fields, that's where you can leave notes or even links if you want to for the designer. So if we look at some examples right here of email copy that we've written before it actually goes into design, you can see that right here. You can pause the video if you want, and you can see the notes on the right as well. I've got some here as well, and more right here, and some more right here. And AI obviously is a big thing. No, it won't replace you, but it will make you a lot faster and more effective. So when it comes to writing e-commerce emails, AI should not be a replacement for your own skills and creativity, but you should use it as a tool for inspiration and refining as well. And you also still need human hands to actually quality check every piece of copywriting. No AI is good enough to write perfect copywriting like at all yet. So using AI to write a complete e-commerce email that is actually good often takes more time than just writing it yourself if you know how to write copy just a little bit, because it can be quite a hassle to prompt it right with all of the right details to get something unique and engaging at a high standard, because you also need to prompt it with the exact concept every single time. So obviously, with that said, AI can still surprise you and spit out an awesome email that you don't need to edit at all. We have seen that happen a couple of times. So like I mentioned, you shouldn't be replaced by an AI for copywriting at all. We haven't replaced any of our very talented copywriters at Opsia. So we use AI for brainstorming email angles, rewording like tricky sentences if we don't have any better ideas at that point, overcoming writer's block, or summarizing long pieces of text as well. And in the end, the best copy in 2025 is still reviewed by a human that actually understands the copywriting principles, the brand, the audience, and what actually makes people click and buy in the first place, because otherwise you're just kind of shooting in the blind and assuming that the AI knows exactly what's best. And I've also got some copy prompts right here. You can see one for graphic emails and one for plain text emails. So these you can use as well. So they're obviously very long prompts just to make sure it's done right. So I'm not going to read through all of this, but you can obviously pause it and read it yourself. But you can see the bolded pieces of text is where you'll add your custom text, kind of like information about your brand and what the email is about and all of that stuff. So I have gone ahead and actually done that, which I'll copy paste in here. So I've just picked a random brand called Twillery. So it's kind of like a men's performance fashion brand. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and just copy pasted a lot of information from their website, the about us page and just the home page, kind of explaining what the brand is about. And then what I've done right here for this section, now I need you to write an email based on this email brief below. That's a part of the prompt right here. And then for the custom information, I've said this email needs to position us as the better choice compared to traditional options and picks. We want it to be clear what benefits our clothes give you and what it brings to your life, but without being overly confident. Keep it manly, classy in the tone of voice, use snappy wording and everyday language, and then please follow the structure for the email, which obviously is still just a part of this kind of prompt right here. So I'll go ahead and click enter and then show you what this comes up with. All right, here we go. So by the way, if you were confused about what that language was on my ChatGPT, that is Danish, because that's where I'm from. But you can see this is the email copy that ChatGPT came up with based on the prompt. So it is honestly very, very good, because we did give it a lot of information. Subject line, ditch the stiff, upgrade to comfort. Preview text, your wardrobe deserves better. Tailored for comfort, dressed up doesn't have to mean stiff. Twillery shirts move with you so you look sharp and feel even better. Very, very on brand, because obviously it is a performance kind of fashion brand for men. Style that works hard, traditional dress shirts, tight, stiff, and high maintenance. Twillery, tailored for performance, built for comfort, and wrinkle-free for all-day wear. And then some bullet points here that you could turn into like a nice infographic as well. So obviously this probably wouldn't be like the complete email. Obviously you'd also need design, but copywriting wise, you probably make some small changes here and there, because obviously it's just AI and it's the first draft, and maybe it's not good enough for what you wanted it to come up with in regards to the actual concept, but it's a pretty good starting point. So I've also got 39 emails with great e-commerce email copywriting in action. You can see obviously a lot of examples that you can go through right here and obviously look through yourself. So you can get this document in the link in the description. And yeah, you can look through all of these and see exactly what e-commerce email copywriting looks like when it's super, super dialed in. And obviously you've learned exactly how to write this yourself in this guide. So yeah, hopefully a good inspiration source for you right here. And that's it for the copywriting guide. Now you know how to write effective e-commerce email copywriting for e-commerce brands. If you are looking for someone that can take your email marketing to the next level for your e-commerce brand specifically, you can reach me at victor@opsia.com, or you can check out the description with a link to book a call with me as well. Just a quick discovery call to see if it even makes sense to pursue this partnership. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully you got a ton of value, and I'll see you in the next one.